Hi, everyone. Welcome to Moon of Astrology. I'm Erica, and I'm glad you joined me today. I just want to welcome everybody to Leo season. Hey, Leo season. Hey, Leos. This is your time to shine. Not that it's never your time to shine, but this is special for you today. And today is actually the Leo new moon. So I'm going to be talking a little about that and how that affects each person's rising sign and the house that the sun and the new moon are in today. So I'll be talking about that in a little bit. But first, I want to start out with talking a little bit about the major transits that are happening in this first half of the season. Well, Leo season officially started 2 days ago, July 22nd at 6:29 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. That would be 9:29 Eastern Daylight Time and across the world. And the sun's major aspects for this time. Sun is opposite Pluto, and it becomes exactly opposite tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow morning, but sometime tomorrow, the opposition is going to be exact. And the sun with Pluto is it's a major opposition. Well, any planet opposing the sun is very powerful. And in terms of this sun, the opposition to the sun, Pluto is there's you can look at opposition in many ways. One and a couple of ways I look at it is like it could be a balancing act where it's like each side is providing what the other doesn't have and sort of creating that balance with each other. Or it could be like a tug of war where you're trying to go in two different directions. And so you have to try to either at some point that middle is going to snap and you're going to go your own way, or you're going to find yourself back to each other and figure out how to do this. And so talking about planets in sort of like action oriented ways. So your sun is sort of representative of your body, of your soul purpose, and that's it natally. But when you're talking about it in the transits, it's what is your purpose at that point. So, what is your focus for that month while your sun is in a particular house? So, this time we have sun in the houses, but we also have Pluto opposing it. And Pluto is many things. It could signal some sort of trauma. It could signal transformation, a metamorphosis, a transition. And oftentimes, when we're going through those types of major changes, there is, pain. There is some sort of stress and tension that comes with those things too, because it's like you're course correcting and you're going into a different direction, right? So your body can actually literally feel pulled which in whatever direction that you're feeling sort of like the stress pulling down, pulling up, pulling like you're feeling like you're kind of coming apart because you're in the process of transitioning and you're feeling it literally in your body, in our sons are our bodies. And with Leo in particular, Leo, the actual body chart that Leo is associated with in the human body is the heart, spine, your back, particularly your upper back, circulation, blood pressure, things that are associated with the heart. And just like we see the heart, the sun is like the center of our galaxy. Well, the heart is basically like the center of us, right? So it operates in the same way. It's center stage. It gives us, it's life-giving. It's a life force. It helps us to operate. So whenever there's disruptions with the heart, we also have disruptions throughout our bodies. So it's sort of a way to look at that. And you can look at that in an esoteric symbolic way as well, in terms of the way in which where we are in our lives, what is this, where are we center stage in our lives at this moment? What is taking center stage in our lives? What is taking focus? So I can actually share for you those that like to look at charts. Let's see. Okay. So this is the beginning of Leo season. We have the sun here, 0 degrees. It actually was exact at 6:29 and 11 seconds. I always like to get exact, but I know or like seconds, but that's like the true exact mark of when it happened. And so we have, here's the sun. You orbs with the sun and planet that's not a personal planet, I tend to have it be within 5 degrees, just because most people consider aspects with sun like as much as 10 or sometimes even 12 degrees away from a planet, just because of the fact that the sun is at the center and it's like reaching out to everything. But for the planets that are a little bit further away from us, I tend to shorten that. So technically, Leo is the sun is in opposition to Pluto already at the beginning of the season. And so it will be, let's see, it will be in opposition to Pluto for, let's see how many days. Let's do days. So this is about 5. So until July 28th, we're going to have that pesky little Pluto right here. Okay. So anyway, so like I said, Pluto is really it's a magnification as well. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about things that you're doing. They're going to have a transitional and a transformative moment for you, whether it be for the next month, just for this month, for next month, or for the rest of the year, perhaps. But whenever Pluto touches any planet, it's something that is a major excavation, a major digging up of something. So, like I said, when we go through the houses, I'll talk about that a little bit more. So you'll know like exactly like where in your life, what in your life this pertains to. Okay, so the next thing is, well, and then here's good news too, is that along with this opposition with to Pluto, it also is making parallel to Venus. So Venus is what we call a benefic. It's a smoother, it's a connector. It's a something that smooths things out. It brings things together. It holds things up, right? And that's Jupiter as well. So those are two more soft, smooth operating planets. So with Venus here, um, it Venus opens people up. It makes people more receptive. It makes people want to be more apt to feel good and make connections. So even when you have Pluto there, Venus is sort of softening those transitions a little bit, and creating some kind of harmony. So the transitions aren't as rough. Now it's not I'm not making any promises that the transition or the transformation or the metamorphosis, whatever that is it going to be tough? Because like I said, those times are always pretty tough, especially when you're in the thick of things and going through them. But Venus being there kind of helps with whatever elements are a part of the transition, helps to make it a little bit more smooth. And then the other let's see. The sun is also making a parallel with Uranus. And so Uranus, whenever it touches anything, create a little bit of chaos. Could be chaotic. It could be a little disruptive because it's it Uranus's energy is very erratic, and so it creates like an erratic type of energy, whatever it's aspecting with whatever it's close to. So it spreads that erratic energy. There's often surprises and shocks that happen when things are irregular or erratic, but also, and then there's a lot of electricity too, and that especially is with us physically. I took a course with Judith Hill just recently, and she goes in detail about the effects of Uranus on the body. And one of the things, especially when it comes in contact with Mars, Saturn, I'm sorry, I gotta go back. But when it comes into, oh, and Mercury, when it comes into those planets that are reactive in and of themselves, when they come in contact with Uranus, it creates electricity, and that can create electricity whatever Uranus is transiting. in your, and so you want to look in your space and see where the Uranus is landing. The technique that she used was she had you like basically print out your natal chart. You can also use a progress chart too if you want to do this as well. But you want to take the chart, you can print it out, and then you take a compass to find out where due north is. And you're going to situate your chart so that the IC is pointing north. So normally that's going to mean you're going to turn the way that most natal charts and charts are oriented is that they're showing MC at the top and IC at the bottom, right? And so, but IC is actually due north. So you're normally going to flip your chart the way that you normally look at, you're going to flip it upside down and you're going to have the IC pointing north. And then wherever, and you're going to make a line to wherever the Uranus transit is. And so that's where a lot of Uranus energy is going to be concentrated. So if it's a place where you need sort of variety, you need like a lot of energy happening, then that's a good place to be. But if it's like in your bedroom or a place where you're trying to relax or sleep, it's not ideal to have the energy there. And so one of the suggestions she made was putting uh, uh, rose quartz crystals. And I'm gonna put her information down here where you can link to that. She's really awesome when it comes to that. So I'll make sure to put some resources there so you can get a little bit better idea. But one of the things is rose quartz because that rose quartz is, um, or even something Venusian like copper. Copper is Venusian, rose quartz, anything that is associated with Venus is good to put in that area if it's a place where you need to sort of counteract all of that static and electricity. Okay, so other aspects that are happening that are important to note. Um, we're in the midst of Mercury in retrograde. The retrograde actually started during the tail end of Cancer season on July 17th. So that's when uh, Mercury retrograde began. It was the night of July 17th. And so I know people like, oh my God, it's Mercury retrograde. And I know that there's a lot of fear put in that, but the main thing to do is just like be vigilant about reviewing things. And that's what a major part of Mercury is. And sometimes you have to kind of start over. You have starts. Um, it causes disruptions in communications. It causes disruptions in um, like technology and stuff like that. And especially with Uranus in the picture, that's even more heavily so directed at technology. So I noticed like since Mercury retrograde, like all of a sudden my Wi-Fi has been jumping and acting funny. And, it's like people say like, oh, there's some things that they're just like old wives' tales and people are just putting it out there. But really, it's documented that way because it actually happens. So it's very interesting. So that's just the thing. It's like whenever you have something to do, just make sure that you have to just go over and start again and make sure things are correct. Um, it's not a great time for, it's a good time for creating a contract if you need to do or some kind of agreement because it's forcing you to review. We just don't want to miss things. Signing contract the same way. Life doesn't stop. So if you have to do something like that, and it's just at that moment, if you can hold off, you can. But if not, just know that during this time, you need to be very vigilant about everything that you review, everything that you go over. And make sure that you have a clear understanding of it. And obviously, never be afraid to ask questions if you need to. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is the Mercury Cazimi, and that is going to be on July 31st. Let me see if I have the time here. Actually, we could go look at our handy dandy chart again. to see exactly when that's going to be. So the 31st, Mercury. Looks like it's going early, so let's see. Okay, that's silly. We're going the wrong way. Just changing the hours. Okay. This is probably an easier way to do that, but I always joke with people that I like to find the most difficult way to do something. It's just like I don't know if you would call it a talent or something. Let's see. I think I had it here before. Let's see. Let's see. Go back. I know it's around 9 degrees somewhere. Oh, I already went all the way back into August. Oh no. I'm doing too much. I think I was trying to go the wrong way. Yeah, I was going the wrong way. I forgot it's already in retrograde. There we go. It's getting closer now. I love doing this. I sit here all day and just play with the chart wheel. Shout out to Astrolabe. There we go. So that's 4:49 p.m. And I did all that so we can get there. So later in the day on the July 1st, it's going to be a Cazimi. And so basically with the Cazimi, the moon, I mean, no, sorry, the sun and Mercury together. So um, the sun basically is like outshining Mercury. You can't, whatever planet is Cazimi to the sun, it's like the sun sort of outshines that. So whatever the sun is, that planet is soaking that energy up. So you're going to be basically with Mercury in a Cazimi with the sun. It's like Mercury is the sun's mouthpiece. So basically, like whatever walk you're walking, you're also talking that too. So wherever Mercury is in your chart during the Cazimi, that's going to be where you're going to be expressing yourself the most through your sun sign. There's the Saturn Neptune conjunction that is still holding strong. Um, and that's that combination, with any combination you have the light and the shadow with everything. And shadow is not always necessarily a negative thing, but there are shadow sides that um are like, hiding what's happening. You can't see it very clearly unless you have night vision, right? And so with Saturn and Neptune, there's still that planetary combination is still a significator of a combination for like illness and disease. And unfortunately, like this is going to be something that this is a combination we've seen for quite a while, and we're going to continue to see that for a while. And unfortunately, like there are things in the world that are major diseases and not just like physical disease either. Um, in terms of the way in which so many people right now are just lacking humanity. Even, I mean, obviously on the larger scale, when you're talking about Gaza and you're talking about Sudan and the Congo, but also when you're talking about just everyday things like you can tell the environment. I don't know about you guys, but for me, like I'm just very sensitive to my environment. I soak up so much energy, and sometimes like that's why I feel like sometimes I have to spend a lot of time alone because it's so kind of overwhelming sometimes being outside. And when you see like the general attitude of those in power and leaders and the messages they send, like they ignite negativity and they ignite aggression in a negative way. They ignite violence. And so you just see it every day, like trying to drive, like people just cut you off for like for no reason at all, like just to do it, just to, be mean-spirited and just to say like, you don't matter. I get to knock you out of the way because you don't matter. You mean nothing. And just like I said, just the lack of humanity, just on a just small basic level, like how surprised, like you keep a door open for somebody and they're like genuinely like, oh wow, thank you. Like it's almost like they're surprised that another person is like showing them just the most minute bit of kindness or like to be helped, and it's like it's just overwhelming and a lot, and Saturn is a significator. This planet is of endings, of limitations, limiting, creating boundaries and borders, which obviously creating boundaries and borders is also a good thing, but it's also in certain context keeping people out, being exclusive, keeping them out of, in being centered. So you have a lot of that. And then Neptune, while Neptune can be very beautiful and be about dreaming, fantasizing, like dreaming of a new world, dreaming of a utopia, but it also can be about dissolution and disappointment and deception, lies and sort of blurring things. So when you have like such an exacting, limiting, sharp planet like Saturn, and you have that together with Neptune, which is about blurring things. It's blurry, it's nebulous, like the planet itself, like around it's a haze. And that's what it also causes in the psychological way. It's on our psyches, a blur, a haze, like, it's like kind of misdirecting or like um sleight of hand, right? Like you see this beautiful, fuzzy, like good feeling, but underneath the smoke screen is all the stuff happening behind the scenes that you're not seeing, right? And so it could cause people to feel, I mean, literally like not feel well. And so that's a big part of that. So um looking at Saturn and try to work with this conjunction of Neptune and Saturn, it's like it's almost like the opposition, the same way. There's like a lot of opposition. And just like how we have the sun opposing Pluto, even though Saturn and Neptune are together, the way that they work is that they're at different types of uh ways in which, we want to move or be, right? And so you have to like find even the balance within that togetherness. And so we can have dreams in a container, like not dreaming or fantasizing to the point of hurting ourselves and not seeing the reality behind the haze of like what things could be, right? And using Saturn as a container for those dreams. So having solid plans and planning the obstacles, like recognizing your dream, but also recognizing where there could be hiccups work. And you don't obviously, you can't anticipate all hiccups. You can't anticipate all things happening that are negative, but if you know that going into it, then you can be more prepared. And like I said, put those two things together and have them work together. And that's like something that we want to do, especially when we're trying to look at ways in which we navigate things, especially when there's things that are difficult. It's like, how do we work with what we have and do it in a way that is not further traumatizing ourselves or not further deluding ourselves into something that things aren't what they are. And so I just want to say that about that. Sorry, I went on a little tangent, a soapbox. And then the other one of the highlights that's happening later in the month, right before the full moon, Mars is entering Libra. And Mars rules Scorpio and Aries. And with Libra being the opposite sign of Aries, Mars is in its detriment. So what that means is that Mars is sharp. Mars is pointy. Mars is rough. And Libra, which is ruled by Venus, is looked at almost like in opposition to that, where it's like I said, it's like Mars can be probing, Mars can be sharp and pointing and penetrating, whereas Venus is smoothing things and making things smoother, making things more palatable, making things more receptive, making things more um, open and inviting, right? And so Mars isn't like that. Mars is not, Mars is hot. Like I said, Mars is hot, Mars is penetrating. So Mars gets a little uh well, how would you say, like not deflated, but Mars gets a little more deactivated when it's in Libra's territory. I mean Libra and Venus would be basically like Venus's territory, right? And so we want to look at the ways in which we can sort of like smooth over the roughness where Mars is. If you have, wherever you have Mars, if you have Mars in any of the cardinal signs besides Libra, that's also Aries, but since Aries is in opposition, we also have Capricorn and Cancer as squares. So that is Mars being in that sign is going to activate those areas for you. So wherever you have Capricorn or Cancer in your chart, if you do, then during this time of Mars being in Libra, this is going to be a source of tension. It's going to create a little bit of tension because Mars is going to be at a square. And it's also not going to be as hot. It's going to be a little cooled down. It's not going to be as dry. It's going to have moisture. It's going to be less. It's not going to be like a pliable sign. It's still going to be hot, but it's not going to be as hot. So it's kind of taking it down a little bit. So wherever those tension to squares are, it's where you're going to try to negotiate how you want to move in terms of like Martian type things. Martian is like work, especially like hands-on work, labor, physical labor, and that kind of work, really hard work, grinding work, things that require you to be aggressive. And so it's going to take the edge off of it a little bit. It's not going to be as aggressive. It's not going to be as hot. So wherever that is in your chart, if you have other air signs that are in any of your planets are in air signs, then it's going to be a trine. So it's going to be more of like, this is familiar territory. We're both air signs and we operate in a similar way. So it might ignite Mars a little bit more just because it's in a space with other air signs. Um, and so that is going to be that. So now we want to talk about the new moon. The moon was completely new. It was in a Leo moon about an hour ago. So we're just fresh into the new moon. And even though like the new moon is an exact time, I can transition to that. I'll transition into that chart so you can see that. Oops. So this is the new moon. This is basically where we are now. It was at 12:10 and 29 seconds. So it's a little over an hour since we've been in the new moon. Let's see, let's catch us up to where we are. So we're here, and since both the sun and the moon are, some people call them lights, some people call them luminaries, because like I said before, the orbs, just like the orb for the sun, the orb for the moon is like a little bit, people stretch it out a little bit larger because those are lights. Sun is daylight, moon is nightlight. Um, so we give it a little bit more of an orb. With these two together, I would say for the whole time that Leo is um, and it's a Leo moon, I would say that we're in that new moon phase. And you can even go a little bit before. Now, this new moon was like pretty much right at the start of this Leo season. But so I tend to like not look at the new moon until it's in the sign when you're talking about that particular new moon. But technically, when the moon was still at the end of Cancer season, the sun and the moon were coming closer and closer together. The moon was approaching the sun and getting closer and closer. So as it got closer, it started to be, so the new moon is actually like the time that it is new. And then this is the time a little bit before and especially after while it's in that sign. So um, new moon is a time for planting seeds, beginning things new, or like if you're in the process of doing something, creating a new phase of that, a new part of the journey. You're moving forward, but you're like a new part of that journey, what you are moving forward. So those are the perfect things, like things you want to manifest, things you want to generate, intention setting, meditating, all those things are really good activities for the new moon. And in terms of like if you're using crystals, if you're using healing crystals, for me personally, I like the new moon for cleansing your um, cleansing your crystals, right? So whether, and I in a previous video I talked about crystal care, being careful about submerging certain crystals in water. Like a lot of people like to go to the ocean and cleanse and or charge. Now, some people go out in the full moon and go to the ocean. And so it kind of, to me, that's kind of like counteracting because it's like you want to use the full moon to charge your crystal, but then you're putting it in the ocean, which is cleansing it. So you're like charging it and cleansing it at the same time. So I wouldn't suggest that. I think that if you're going to go, if the beach is like a comforting place for you to sort of go and meditate, or like that's a part of nature that you love like vibing with and like it feeds you, then go there by all means. And usually like it doesn't have, unless you're like in like a super populated beach city where it's like lights everywhere. Also too, it's a place where you can get direct moonlight. So great. So set out something and put your crystals and charge them there. But if you're going to cleanse them, choose a better time. And it could not, it doesn't have to necessarily be during the new moon. It could be when there's a start of something in your chart, or you just feel called to like do some sort of cleansing. Maybe you need that right now. Maybe things are feeling a little hectic and jumbled, and it's just like a lot of energy going on. So you want to be able to cleanse those things to sort of restore like the true energy that and healing that they're going to provide for you. So like I said, new moon, because it's like it's the lowest illumination for the moon, or no illumination, but hence it being brand new. You can't see it at all in the naked eye in the sky. That's a good time to cleanse, right? It's because cleansing and releasing, I mean, cleansing is a start. It's the starting point to building something. So you could either cleanse right before the new moon and then set your intentions, or you can cleanse during the new moon. And then in that process, have also intention setting be part of that. So however you feel, but that's for me personally, that's what I like to do. And so you can also use smoke if you have herbs, or you have like sage or Palo Santo, or even incense that you have put intention into. You can use all those things to clear your clear your stones and your crystals with smoke. Um, you can set them on selenite. If you get a piece of selenite, or you have like a bowl or something you can buy in places where they actually make platters and bowls made of selenite, and set your crystals on there, that's a really good way to cleanse your crystals and stuff too. So those are just some suggestions. So now I'm going to go through the sign. And just as a reminder, these are based on your rising sign. For those that you have a chart, you can just look and see like on the chart, or on your chart that looks like this. Here in the corner, this is where you would find your rising sign. And depending on the house system that you use, I use Regiomontanus, which puts your rising sign at the actual horizon, because this is where um this is the rising, this is the line for the rising sign. So putting it there and shows you at what degree the sun is, and that planet at and the horizon is hitting that constellation. So here for this Leo new moon, or currently the horizon is right at the very beginning of the constellation of Scorpio. So that would be what, when anybody born right now, that's would be for the next like couple of hours. This is good. The Scorpio is going to be the rising sign. So that's how that works, just as a quick reminder. Some people don't know. And then you have to have your birth time when you're going through charts. You can do certain things without having your birth time, but normally, like for something to be exact, we ask that you have a chart with your birth time on it. And so I'm using whole sign system for the purpose of this interpretation, but I normally use this for like actually doing charts, charting things, and being a little bit more exact, just because you can see the horizon, and it also puts all of your cadent houses and cadent points on the actual line. So this is the IC line, and this is the IC for this. So this is at 10 degrees of Scorpio, and then the MC is at 10 degrees of Leo. And we have Scorpio here, and then we have Taurus right there. So it just makes, to me, a more realistic, clearer picture of it. But using whole signs for the purpose of general interpretation. So this is for everybody. So generally, this is where your sign will be, generally speaking. But say, for instance, Scorpio was at 15 degrees or 22 degrees, or whatever the case may be. So that changes the size and shape of the first house. So you might be at the beginning of Scorpio, right? And so you're actually going to be in the 12th house. So that's why I said listen to all of them because I'm sure there's a little piece of information for everyone in each of the readings for each of the rising signs. But if you're looking for your specific interpretation and the one that I'm giving for your sign doesn't quite hit, then listen to the ones that are right before or right after if you don't know, if you're using whole sign as well, and it might resonate a little bit more. But of course, like everything, whatever resonates with you, take that. Whatever doesn't, then that's not meant for you. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing this really quick. Okay, so since this is Leo season, it's only right that we start with Leo. So all my Leo rising peeps, the sun and the moon are both in your first house today. And for the next couple days with the moon, but for all month for the sun. And so with Leo rising, the sun is the ruling light of your first house. So this only magnifies how things are for you normally. And with the sun here, you your first house is first of all, let me start with your first house being about like your self-image, um, how you choose to move into in the world, how you choose to be and want to be seen. And that obviously incorporates like your physical dress, your hair, and how you like to present yourself, how you like to be seen. And then with the sun, just like I said, with the sun being at the center of all of like our little planetary family here, it's like being having the sun, it's like you are sort of like the plug, right? You're kind of at the center of a lot of things. If you want to take the physiological things associated with Leo and make them into like the psyche, so you can be like the backbone of the whoever or whatever you're associated with, you are seen as someone who is capable, who's handling things, but you do it with warmth. You radiate warmth, you radiate generosity to people, and you want people to also, you like also for people to see themselves and have their center stage, right? Like you don't like to have that alone, like you are sharing that. Like, so it's very generous, sharing energy. And so, it's an even bigger boost in your self-confidence, an even bigger boost in like your shine and how you're out there. And so this is a really good time to take advantage of the fact that people are really relating to you. They're really drawn to you. Like they see your light, they see your energy, they see the luminance, like they're like wanting to like be a part of that, right? And so looking at that, like it's a good time also to for people to see that confidence in you and you sort of share that confidence with them. And so it's a good time to like if you're in any kind of thing where you're motivating people or just encouraging people, like this is a good time for you to get those messages out there. And with Mercury in retrograde, people are sort of reviewing things. People are really like taking stock of that. So that's a good thing to take advantage of, people not just moving and listening to the message. It's like things are slowing down with communication. So people are slowing down even how they receive that information. So like I said, this is a good impactful time for that if that's something that you are involved in or want to do. With the moon here, the heart and the purpose is also combined and on the same page with how you feel emotionally. So that's part of like the new moon, right? Like the energy that you want to be compelled to consume, the be part of that. You're also following that spiritually, intuitively, and emotionally as well. So you have both of them coming together. So you have head and heart and feeling and emotion all kind of like on the same page. And so, um, yeah, just being really sensitive. Um, you might also be sensitive about how you're presenting yourself, how you look, but um, it might color that, but it's more about putting how you truly feel and your emotional, like the emotional investment you have in things, putting that in there as well as what you are feeling to do, if that makes sense, right? Or like what your like your purpose and also putting all of your emotional strength in it as well. So it's a much more deeper connection that you're making because of that, because of those two aspects playing together. Next we have Virgo rising. And Virgo, this Leo moon, I mean, this Leo sun and moon are in your 12th house. And so your 12th, I like to call 12th house like your attic or your cave. It's sort of like where you kind of like put, tuck things away. This is sort of like your little corner. Nobody sees that, right? This is like where you are the only person that's here in this space, seeing this, putting things away here. So it's the very, very private part of you. Um, it also could be where you might be putting stuff away and kind of shoving it under the carpet, right? It's where you can also experience self-sabotage or where you can uh, exhibit like where you have self-undoing, right? Um, and you're kind of like how they say like being your own worst enemy. Like this is kind of where those things are, those things that you feel stifled by are kind of like here. But with the sun here, it's sort of like illuminating that, right? It's the windows, the curtains are being opened up in the attic, like like your cave, like the door is open and it's like all this light is shining through. So you kind of like are highlighting what it is that you do. And that's like, so it's a good time to concentrate on things that are this is a very good place to concentrate on things that are healing for you. Whether it be however you seek the healing, however you seek solace, and you know, be easy on yourself. Like you might feel exposed, even like to yourself, right? Like when you're really looking at something and you're really looking at like things that you like shoved underneath, like it could be familial traumas, it could be ancestral traumas, it could just be things that you have placed sort of on hold and kind of like not dealt with. And it's like now they're starting to kind of come resurface. And then with the moon, oh, and I forgot to mention that the moon is also, once again, like it was last time in the full moon, it's out of bounds again. So it has that moon Uranian vibe to it where the moon, like your emotions are a little bit out of balance. They're a little bit erratic. You're feeling a little chaotic emotionally. And so, like here, like you can feel those feels and you can feel chaotic. You know what I mean? If you need to, not take all the invitations and when you come home or when you're like, if you're working from home and you need to like take a break and you need to just like take a nap or you just need to like veg out a little bit, it's okay to do that. But at the same time, like your sun is going to be here all month. So that sort of highlighting that part of you and that space, it's just gonna at some point. And then with the sun also opposing Pluto, Pluto is gonna demand that you dive deep and you get down there and you dig into the muck and the yuck and like really kind of like face things because it's gonna be also, like I was saying before, part of that transformational type of thing. It's a metamorphosis, and you're really gonna, this is a place where that is sort of par for the course. It's a place where you are going to be transitioning and metamorphosizing and all that stuff, if that's a word. Anyway, so with Pluto here, the sun here, I mean, it's that. So, if you need to um, get therapy, I'm not always a proponent of therapy necessarily, but if you need to have a professional really help you work out some of the things that you're dealing with right now, like by all means, like if there's other practices, if you have kind of like been more in tune with things that are happening, you just need to like realize that maybe some of these things that are starting to like show up again and hinder, like however you feel that where it's a safe space for you to like look at things very realistically and honestly, like do that for yourself, Virgo. And take care of yourselves, Virgo. We love you. Okay, now we are ready for Libra Rising, sorry. Libra Rising. So this combination is going to be in your 11th house. And your 11th house, as a reminder, is organizations, friendship groups, organizations. associations, things where you're getting together and you're coming together for a common cause, or, like it could be a social group, it could be a group for whatever reason. This is a time for that, highlighting those, that area of your life when you're talking about that. And it's also the house of hopes and wishes and things that you hope to see in your life. And the way that it's in association with groups is that a lot of times you join organizations because you have a need to grow in a certain area. So you tend to get into organizations that either you're curious about, something new you want to try, or you want to further your further your hopes and wishes and what you want to do, and you do it within an organization that's part of it. There is like people there to cheer you on and support you, and you do the same for them, right? And so with the new moon starting something new, so maybe this is a good time to seek out brand new associations, brand new organizations, brand new friend groups, brand new groups of people coming together, that something that you've just really wanted to do and maybe you don't know how to connect. And this being involved in those, getting signed up, if they're online communities that you want to get into. So try something new, something you've always wanted to do, or step out and like make connections with people in that way. And Libra is really great with making connections. So it's like that's a little bit easier for you to do that. So during this time, this is a good way to or renew those friendship groups, regenerate them, or maybe if you've been doing something in a group for a long time and you guys want to like add something on, or you want to go in a different direction, this is a good time to propose that. So that's good for Libra. And then next we have Scorpio rising. Scorpio, when it's Leo season, the sun is in your 10th house, all Leo season, until, let's see, Leo season ends on August 22nd, midday, I believe. I'll look at that toward the end of the talk. But so up until that time, you're gonna have the sun really concentrated on like career, whether you're starting a new career path, you're doing something new within your career, like you're completely starting over and you're doing something brand new, or you're showing up doing like your reputation may be renewed. Um, your public life, your public face is getting a new look, however that is, however you want to be out here in the world. With the new moon here, um, like I said, Uranus is kind of like, so like your emotions are a little bit heightened. Um, so before, if you need to have a conversation with somebody in connection with like somebody you deal with in the public in your career space or what have you, because you're kind of like all over the place, and Pluto is there like really digging deep, I would do a 4, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown before talking with people, especially if there's something a little bit more contentious about the conversation you need to have. But if not, I mean, it's fine. I think that with the moon kind of being like all over the place, it might make you feel like a little bit vulnerable. Um, so you might want to wait until this new moon passes before you have like actual interaction or conversation, but it's still a good time to like, like maybe journal or write or get like your ideas and things down, like out of your mind and onto some kind of paper where you can go back and read it later, or typing it on your computer, like creating notes for yourself. But whatever this is, it's a good time to start thinking about that, planting seeds, or just doing sort of like even meditating and doing manifestations and concentrating and dreaming about the things that you want to do next, or things you want to start, or some kind of seed you want to plant that's going to grow into something that you've been wanting to do for a long time. Next, it comes Sagittarius Rising. Hey, that's all my fellow Saggy Risings. The new moon, the sun and the new moon are in our ninth house, and this is sort of like our home base. And so, of course, the ninth house is about travel. It's about your overarching philosophies of life. It's about the long-term journeys, whether that be long-term travel like from places a lot farther from where you are, or those kinds of things like those lifelong journey type of things as opposed to the third house, which is like short trips, your daily movement, like your daily routine errands and stuff like that. So this is a long-term type of journey, right? And so travel is a big part of that, whether you're traveling, physically traveling, or you're plotting travel, or you're traveling in a metaphysical sense, right? Time traveling or whatever the case may be. Like this is the time for you. And I know for me personally, like I get really restless during the Leo season because once the sun hits the ninth house, I'm just like ready to go anywhere. I'm just like ready to travel. And I particularly like road trips because I just love that seeing like the landscapes as you travel along the roads, like you stop at little mom and pop shops, or you have like, you don't rarely see like big malls unless it's like outlets, but it still has that like sort of travel feel to it. So I just always just want to just like get in my car and just go somewhere. I don't care. So I don't know if you guys feel like that, but anyway, so obviously the travel bug is intense right now. And you might want to like just take like a mini trip if you're able to. If you're not able to, then this is also a good time to start doing research, which is another thing that we love to do during this time. Do research on places where you want to go. If you're thinking about traveling outside of the United States, or you want to like do you want to like travel for periods of time out of the US, or you want to, or wherever you want to travel to, um, if you're not physically able to at the moment, or if you're like in a job situation, maybe you just started a new job, and so, you can't necessarily leave, or you don't have the funds, like, right. A lot of people are kind of strapped right now for cash. So you might not monetarily be able to leave, but you can always do research. Um, if you don't have a computer, you can go to the library. Um, if you can check out books, you can do online research, and start investigating like where you want to go. Or then some people like are even thinking about moving abroad. And so this is a good time to like do that research. If you are thinking about moving abroad, one person I would suggest really highly, um, is Stephanie Perry. She provides her, and also Rashida Dowe. They have a group called Exodus Summit, and they work with Black women to curate lives that they want, include traveling abroad. You can be a nomad and country jump, city jump everywhere around the world, globe hopping, or if you're thinking about seriously moving some abroad somewhere, they're a great thing, and I'll put their resources down there too. So anyway, so any part of that process, you could also be going through a transformational um, philosophical change, right? Sorry about that. My phone never goes off, so of course, while I'm trying to talk. But anyway, so yeah, so anything, like I said, if also too, if you're going to some sort of philosophical changes, like it could be something small, or you just could be branching out in terms of how you've thought about or saw the world before, and especially in terms of like the things that are happening now, and looking at how the Band-Aid is off and the cover's off, and really seeing how our government in this country operates in the global community. And so you could be starting to shift how if you're here in the US, how you're seeing that and how your philosophy about being American or America, what that means and how that means in a larger sense. So it could be a lot of changes with that. That's just one example that is like on my mind. Also, the ninth house rules publishing, publications, and things like that. So, um, this is a good time to, if you're going to start something, uh, start a publication, or it could just be even simply like starting journaling, things like that. Or you could be doing vlogs or something like that where you're sort of like talking about that and you're going to begin how that looks like. So, any of those things could do. And let's see. That's it. Okay, next we have Capricorn Rising. This Leo season, as all with every Leo season, Sun is in your eighth house, and the Moon is joining it today and for the next couple days. So, um, the eighth house is your house of it's other people's resources, shared resources that you share with other people, especially people that you have closer, more intimate relationships with. It could be partners, could be business partners, but it's like your financial situation or your resource center with that's shared with another person. And also, this is where they say this is also sex, death, and taxes house. And the reason why is because, like, obviously, with sex, you are the resource that you're sharing with another person, right? And it's like the two combined shared resources together come together in sexual manners and death when you're talking about transitioning and you're going elsewhere. Literally, your body is, your soul might be. And then also to taxes because it's not your money. They're taking your money. So it's like you're sharing it with them without your permission, but that's a whole nother story we'll talk about later. And then shout out to all of my fellow 55-year-olds, aka baby seniors. Um, as 55-year-olds, the perfection year is in the eighth house. And so with Leo here, and then you're also 55, and this is your perfection year. This is a huge point of emphasis in your life. So it's super emphasized this month because you have Leo here, you have the sun here, and you are also in your eighth house perfection. So it's in this month, it's like magnified. So any kind of situation that you have, whether it's positive, maybe you have a joint account, you maybe have a joint investment with somebody else that's like blowing up and it's doing great. If you are going through something with somebody and you're having like issues with shared resource and how those things are come about, maybe there's some sort of power struggle with like the resources and how they're being shared and you know who's putting effort in there and who's not. Like there could be power dynamics involved in that, which is not always the greatest. You could be going through with the new moon here, you could be thinking about those shared resources, those shared things in a new way. Maybe you want to manifest or plant seeds for something that you want to happen in this space. Um, and maybe you want to like try new things with the person that you're like super intimate with. So these are things that are like deep transform deep deep and transformative connections that you're having with this other person. So maybe like the way that it looks like is different. Maybe it's an idea you want to share with them. So, this is a good time to do that. Um, I think that um, I think that's pretty much it. So if you are really having difficulties in this area, you know, even though this is about shared, I mean, this is the resolution that you want to have with another person, but you also need to meditate on your own about like what part of that is where you are an individual in that space and how you can then come together and talk with that other person. So, like I said, it could be on the financial level, it could be on the sexual level, it could be something of that nature. Okay, next is Aquarius Rising. Hey, Aquarius. So the sun and the moon are both in your seventh house. So for the month, the sun's going to be here all month, and then for the moon for the next couple days or so. So with the sun here, you're going to be concentrating on your relationships, your one-on-one relationships. So that's your romantic partnerships. Um, and even if this is also not looking at it in terms of like necessarily binary, but even if you're in like a, a polyamorous situation or in some sort of poly relationship with people, but you're going to be focused on each and every relationship, the one-on-one, instead of looking at it in the community or some kind of group way. So you're concentrated your particular relationship with that one person. So it's one-on-one. It's also business collaborations, like with partnerships, with there's two people and things like that, where you have like sort of like a one-on-one relationship with someone, what that looks like, a close friend, um, like I said, business partners, romantic partners, etc. Um, and so with the new moon here for the next couple of days, you're going to be looking at the relationships. You're going to have either a new lens on the relationship, you're going to get some sort of new perspective on that, or you're going to be planting seeds to manifest the type of new relationships that you want to have. You might even encounter or be developing a new relationship this time, or if you want to, like planting that seeds to put in the intentions. And then you're also looking at the way that those partnerships are emotionally nurturing for you. So, um, even in a situation where you isn't necessarily an emotional relationship in and of itself, like a romantic partnership, but even still, like having things that feed you and nurture you and not just are about work or depleting or taking away from you. Like it's a give and take, right? So you're pouring in, but you're also receiving nurturing and love in return, even when you're talking about situations. So wanting to have more full, robust relationships, excuse me, that are, like I said, are feeding you. And that's going to be very intense in this first couple of days. But then once the moon moves on, you still have the sun here. So it's still going to be really impactful thinking about your relationships, how you function within those relationships, how, like I said, the relationships are, are shining, are thriving, are center stage. So that's going to be a real big focus of this month is what center stage for you is those relationships. Next, we have Pisces rising. Hi, Pisces risings. The sun and the moon, new moon, are in your sixth house of like your daily routine, your work, things that you have to do on a daily basis. It's also your house of stress and stressors, and it's also your house of health and wellness. So with the sun here this month, your focus is going to be on that, like things at your daily task. With the sun here, it might be increasing the amount of tasks you have to do, things that you're taking on, like because of the sign being sort of like purposeful. So you might feel the need to take on a lot of different tasks. You might feel like you're doing the, or just because of things that you're getting involved in, it's increasing those things for you in your life. So you could be a little bit busy. And so this is also where you can encounter stress. The moon here, especially being a little bit erratic emotionally, that could take a little bit of toll on you in terms of like things that are like seeming the stress that you normally deal with, and then it could just be magnified, right? Because of the moon, like you feeling just sort of like a little out of whack. And so, just take your time. It's a good time to make to-do lists, to make task lists if you're not a person that normally does that. I'm a crazy note taker and um I'm just wild about making to-do lists. I have lists freaking everywhere. So that's like in my nature. But if you're not used to doing that, try it because get yourself a good planner, get yourself a journal. I for the sixth house, it's more of like a planner, right? So you have like calendar, you have spaces to write like the planners that have like task or to-do list space for those things behind a calendar are like perfect for that, because you get to plot out what you're doing. So when you have lists and you can take things step by step, one by one, and don't feel like you have to do all these things at once and then overwhelm yourself. Just take things piece by piece. And when you have task lists or to-do lists, that's really helpful with like breaking things down into smaller pieces because they seem a little bit more achievable, they seem a little bit more doable. And it's like, you do feel like you're like making progress and moving forward without like just being completely like overwhelmed and like I can't do this and just shut down. And so you could be have wanting if you've been wanting to like sort of either revive a health routine or start one, um healthy eating habits. These couple days you might, and this also goes for the fifth house, which I'll talk about too, but you might feel like kind of overwhelmed. And so you might stress or emotionally eat. And don't beat yourself up for that. It's only going to be for 2 days. And it's going to be like kind of comforting. Like, obviously, like, I don't want you doing anything destructive or harmful for your health. But if you just need to indulge something that sort of comforts you and kind of like settles you down, if you need to do that for yourself, like I said, it's just a couple days and it's okay. Like, we tend to be like, oh, don't eat this and restrict ourselves and like beat ourselves up because we needed to like consume something that was like making us feel better. Like, obviously, you don't want to do something destructive like, freaking shoot up or something like that. But I'm not suggesting you do that any way, shape, or form. I mean, like having like a piece of cake or a candy bar, like, unless you're like, like on the throes of like a attack of some sort. I mean, obviously, like within reason, but like a little bit of indulgence isn't going to hurt today, and it might just kind of like comfort you, kind of like ease the thing, especially like if you have a lot to do. Like I said, doing task lists, to-do lists, things like that, and breaking things down into smaller, doable tasks, smaller, doable things, and like putting some um, stress relief type of things in between doing that too, right? So it's like getting up and meditating, getting up and just like going outside, like, having like a cup of tea in the morning, just having sort of like that silence where you could just kind of like feel things in your body, right? And feel it on a level where it's like, okay, and now I can go out in the day completely feeling balanced and going out and handling my business and doing instead of just like stripping yourself of all of those things that are pleasurable and it's like I have to work, I have to do this, whatever. And it's like you're gonna burn out and you're gonna stress. And so just take care of yourself during this time. And let's see. If you're gonna start something new, then just like I said, take a first step, right? Like if you have no idea like what kind of exercise you want, go to an app like Fit On. Um, there's a million type of exercise, whatever, and nutritional type of things everywhere. But like you can look up nutritionist, like I said, use an app like Fit On. I'm not advertising for them, but it's just the first thing that came to mind because they have a whole library full of all kind of ways in which you can go about like doing your health routines and wellness and stuff like that. So you can just start there. It's not overwhelming. You don't have to just like commit to like I'm gonna work out, like 3 hours a day every single day. You don't have to do that. You can ease yourself in that like baby steps and don't overwhelm yourself. These are supposed to things that are supposed to, be health, be healthy, be making you feel better, feel good. So don't attack yourself in the process of seeking out things that are about health and wellness. So those are the things that I would suggest to do. So for Pisces. Okay, next we have Aries rising. Hey, Aries. So this Leo season, the sun is in your fun house. The fifth, I call the fifth house the fun house because this is like your pleasure house, like where you seek fun. This is where your hobbies are housed, like the type of hobbies you have, the way that you express yourself, the way that you're in this fifth house is like the natural placement for the sun. So this is sort of like where you're center stage, like you prioritize your pleasure, you prioritize your fun, you prioritize feeling good. And this is also the place of children, whether you have children or you want children, you don't want children. Um, Children is that, and it could also be not just like children you have or don't have, or interactions with, it could be interactions with other children. So like nieces, nephews, children in your life that like give you joy and also um, it could be your inner child, right? Feeding your inner child, nurturing your inner child. And with the moon here for the next couple of days, that's a good time to do that, like nurturing your inner child, nurturing your playfulness, nurturing that part of you or that time of you when you didn't care like how you looked or how people saw you. You just, you know how kids just act like they just have a lot of fun. They're not like part of that like they haven't hit that jadedness yet. We're just like expressing themselves and loving and how they want to be, right? Just that pure spirit. And so that's a part of you that wants to be nurtured this time. This is also the house of hooking up. Um, I'm talking to all my unattached people now, my single people. But also it could be too, but more, this is not the sex of the eighth house is more of like the deeper connections that you have with the partners that you've made in the seventh house, right? And so in the eighth house, you have that deep sexual, that body soul deep connection, right? But the fifth house, it's like, maybe somebody you've been dating for a while or somebody you just like are hot and interested in. And it's time. Like you feel like that wanting to feel pleasured in that way, right? And so with the moon right now, especially these next couple days, the moon being really intense and sort of also being erratic, like you're feeling, you might all of a sudden like this person that you had a good time with, like they are pleasurable people to be around. You like spending time with them and you might have already like, gotten together and had sex. But all of a sudden now it's like you are feeling some sort of like emotional connection with them in like a way where you're kind of like maybe like could this be, and it could be that it's bringing those new feelings up to the surface, or it could be just as fast emotional responses as the moon passing, right? So I would not necessarily like act upon things totally emotionally yet until you sort of like let that intensity of the moon with the sun pass, and then see, once the moon has like sort of gotten away from the sun, are these feelings still sustainable? And once that moon hits your seventh house, are you still feeling in alignment with that? And it could be, or just could be just a passing thing, but you never know. But that's sort of like that. You could also be trying out a new hobby or thinking about things that you want to manifest in your life that you want to seek more pleasure in general, or if there's something specific that you've been seeking out, this is a good time to investigate that too while the moon is new. Let me see. I think that's it. Aries. I don't know if there's anything else I want to talk about. In terms of children, obviously, if you want children, you could possibly become pregnant during this time. Um, you could just, your desire, it could be even something new. It could be a new desire. It could be bringing up an old desire you hadn't thought about for a while, like thinking about having children or whatever. And vice versa, like maybe it's something that you're realizing that you don't want, like you don't have your own children. You might have other children in your life, or you might not want to necessarily give birth, but having children, you could possibly think about new ways of relating with children, like having, like being a foster parent, or adopting children. So, like just giving birth, like say if there's some reason that you're not able to do that, there are so many other ways to become a parent and have children in your life, right? And you could also just be that auntie or uncle, and like you could see them more, like want to have a desire to have them around you more, nurture them, nurture their spirits, or whatever the case may be. So that could be also something too. So. Okay, Taurus, my Taurus risings. Excuse me, during Leo season, the sun is in your fourth house of home. And with the moon here for the next couple days, it's a real emphasis on having space that you call home, where you actually feel at home, where you feel emotionally nurtured, where you feel emotionally secure, where you feel safe, where you can just like let things go and you can relax and feel taken care of in the spaces where you're at, and it being a nurturing space. And so with the moon here, new moon here, planting seeds of like maybe um thinking about new things for your family to do. You could be actually literally looking for a new place to live. You could be manifesting where you want to live, how you want to live, what you want your home to look like. You could be rearranging things in the space where you live. You could just do things differently there. You could be with regard with family. You could be making new connections or manifesting new connections with ancestral ties, with spirit guides, things that are a part of your lineage. And so you could be doing that. You could be making connections that way. One of the ways that I have been doing this lately, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tatianna Tarot, but she's an amazing guide. She's an amazing teacher with regard to getting in touch with like your ancestors and your spirit guides and things like that. I'll leave her information also in the bottom here. But so having that as a vehicle of a new way of communicating, a new way of relating, um, going back to roots, going back to your ancestral ties, wanting to have a connection. So making those new connections or renewing old connections that maybe you have not been connecting with lately. So this is a good time for that. But anything that has to do with home and anything that you want to start brand new or plant those seeds is good. Um, or, like finding new ways to spend time with your family. You could just as well be finding new ways to not spend time with family, depending on your situation, like maybe needing space. And so creating home for you is creating like you have a place where you live or who are like your roommates or your family or whoever it is that is a part of your life there, or your chosen family, right? And then also you could be where this is where you live literally, but you also need a space to feel quote unquote at home. So that could also be a thing too. It's part of like seeking out ties and stuff like that. Or you could be planning something where you're actually like being more invested in, like I said, the ancestral part of your family and looking at that. You could be starting a family tree. You could be starting research into like your family tree, your roots, and things like that. So all those things that are tied to home are going to be highlighted with the sun and feeling something purposeful to do with regard to that. And then like the moon with planting those seeds of something new. Okay, next we have Gemini Rising. Hey, Geminis. So this Leo season and this new moon in particular is going to be in your third house of communication. It's also your house of siblings and cousins. It's short trips, like your daily errands, you know, where you move about, like for work or school, or in your neighborhood or in your larger communities. So this is like governs the third house, and it's also about like gathering information, getting data, just like facts. It's facts. the reception of facts and getting facts, getting information, and um, also like it involves like head and mental space and like how you think and how you go about things and how you do things in a way, your logics and stuff like that, and how you go about things. So with the moon here, you're going to be for these next couple days really invested in communicating your feelings to other people. That's going to be highlighted for the next few days. So um, it's about seeking emotional intelligence from yourself and also from other people. You're going to be more wanting to repair or review where there has been some sort of breakdown in communication. So, and this is also involving Mercury retrograde as well. So, you're going to really be focused on like looking at communication breakdowns, seeing where that happens, seeing where those connection either can be repaired or no longer needed in your life. Um, also, right now is a good time to start a new journal, um, and helping you sort of like get your emotional out of your head and onto paper. Sometimes like we need that. Like some people are very great about like expressing how they feel emotionally, their feelings and things like that. And then some not so much. So it's good to have journals and write. I'm a big proponent in writing, like because the motion and the act of even just like picking up a pen and putting it to paper and physically having like it be a physical action, writing, right? Or if you have a computer and you're on a computer and you want to like write there, but something about writing in your own handwriting and seeing that and like how the different ways that you write, it just sort of like jogs, I think, a lot of creativity, and it really helps to like, I feel like you're just pouring it out on a page. But that's just me personally. But like I said, you can type, you can record yourself. A lot of people do that too. Or just record things and like how they want to get stuff out. But that's going to be your focus. And then like anything's dealing with like siblings, cousins, seeing them, gatherings, stuff like that. This is, I know, like during this time because of the summer months, a lot of people like to plan like reunions and family gatherings and stuff like that, especially outside and stuff like that. So maybe that's something like you can also plant seeds and manifest and get started is like if you've been wanting to like get together with family, especially like siblings and cousins, and have like a gathering and get together with you guys to catch up or just see each other or just do, and some people like have those relationships where they see siblings and cousins like all the time. So just thinking about maybe it's a new thing you guys want to do together. You can think about that. So that's it for you guys. So last but not least, we have Cancer rising. And so Cancer, during Leo season, the sun is in your second house of resources. This is where on a mundane level, like your finances, your money counts. And then also to like your self-confidence, your self-worth, how you feel supported, what is supporting you, what is stabilizing you, what is allowing you to um, aid in your growth and being prosperous, um, being abundant, and things like that. So with the sun here, it's going to shine a light and focus on the way those things are working in your life. Do you have the support you need? Do you have the foundation? Do you feel stable? And then how are you going to do that? And then with the moon here, you could use this time to meditate and manifest on like what things you need more to be for you to feel more supportive. And like, cancers also like to feel nurtured. So what is feeding you emotionally? What is feeding you financially? And what are the ways in which you're feeling supported in a good way? Like not what the kind of support that people are imposing on you, like how you see the support and how seeking out ways that you get the support you need and the way that you need to do it without sacrificing any of that stuff. So that's like sort of like your purpose this month. And then for the next couple days, manifesting those things and how they look like for you. Okay, so that's it, everyone. I hope you have a beautiful Leo season. And then my next video, sort of mid-month, we're going to start talking about the full moon in Aquarius and some of the aspects that are influencing the full moon. And of course, for all the signs, we're going to do readings for that. So take care, everyone. I love you, and just be safe, and let's sort of let our humanity show and take care of each other. Until then, next time, take care.